बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अल्लाह के नाम से शुरू जो बड़ा मेहरबान और निहायत रहम करने वाला है। Welcome to Petroleum Club of Pakistan Technical Webinar Series. I'm your host Muhammad Tahir Alam. Today our topic is benefits of Contractors HSE management. And once again, our guest speaker for today is Mr. Naeem Ahmad Subhani, the Chief Executive Officer, Safety Consultants. Mr. Subhani is a seasoned safety professional with over 35 years of professional experience working for private sector organizations in Pakistan, Middle East, USA and Canada. He is having a master's degree in mechanical engineering, MBA, diploma in health and safety management from British Safety Council, UK, and certified safety professional CSP qualification from US board. So I will request Mr. Naeem Subhani to please start the session. Naeem Saab.
Ji, बहुत शुक्रिया. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to all the participants who have joined till now. It's an honor for me that I've been talking on a prestigious platform of Petroleum Club, which is now has become Energy Club, with a lot of participation from energy sector. So I think the message will go across and many people will learn what is the topic and what's the significance and why it's important for the companies to follow. Well, my personal experience speaks louder than my presentations and my slides and whatever, because I have worked by myself. I have seen different situations. I have worked on large construction projects also. I've been dealing with many contracts during my operation experience in different oil companies. So I understand what are the requirements for the contractors to comply with the client's requirements, and how to handle them, because it's a complicated situation usually, and it's very difficult to carry on with the contractors. If we select wrong contractors, the project ends up into a disaster and the management suffers a lot. So there are multiple steps which needs to be taken while hiring the services of the contractors. Why we are talking about this subject? Because many of the companies are hiring the services of contractors for multiple reasons. We will talk about in different slides, in later slides. So it's a common subject. It's not only in Pakistan, worldwide. The companies are shifting towards the contractors. They are outsourcing. They are relying on different companies to carry on their operations. So in Pakistan also, the oil companies, they have large contractors for different activities like construction, drilling, seismic, other areas also in power sector, in coal sector. There are many contractors which are working for the companies and adding value to the organization with their hard work and with their dedication. So it's a subject of today's importance, and with the pandemic situation, the importance of outsourcing has increased, specifically in IT sector and various activities or various services. So the pandemic has given a lesson to the companies. So they have changed their strategy, their thinking. So now the contracting or outsourcing is becoming more and more important in coming years. So that's why we need to learn why this is the subject we have chosen for this presentation. Okay. The objective, why we are talking of this subject, because we know the importance of this subject, because the companies has challenge when they hire the contractors. If that's a construction contractor or any other service, the main challenge with a company is to complete the assigned task within budget. The budget should not exceed outside their limits. The timeline has to be achieved. The contractor has to maintain the required quality. They have to comply with the minimum HSE standards to prevent accidental losses, because accidental losses may be a personal injury, could be asset damage, could be environmental damage, could be a delay in project. So in all respect, there is a requirement to carry on with the job and complete the job without any kind of accident that can really stop the activity for some time. Because every day matters, even every hour matters, because there are many activities which are interlinked, and many contractors are interlinked. So the stoppage of one contractor affects the performance of the other contractor. So all the contractors or subcontractors, everybody should work in the same pace so that the losses can be avoided. Definitely, if the company works in the same manner, they will earn profits with the completion of the project. And yes, there is also a requirement that they have to share the fortune with the partners. So the subcontractor also has the right, if they have done something extra ordinary, or they have completed the project timely or earlier than the timeline, they have to be given a reward. Or and there are companies, I will mention the company names, and where they have the system in place to reward the contractors on completion of project safely. Then the biggest thing is the company reputation, because we are working in a corporate world. And in corporate world, the company reputation and name of the company is important. So the large companies, they care about their reputation, and they do whatever they need to do to maintain that level. I will touch upon a topic which I in my previous presentation I talked about, was the difference between private sector and public sector. The government and public sector has different mindset and different thinking, and the private and corporate sector has a different thinking. Usually, the public sector and the government sector, they look at they are reactive to the requirements of the law, maybe the regulations, and the expectation from the government and the media. But the corporate sector, they have their own standards. If the corporate office is in an advanced world, in US or Europe or in Middle East, so they have their own standards and they want to comply with their standards. You have seen in COVID, many companies still working from home because their corporate offices has a policy that they will work from home until the situation normalizes. So many companies are still working from home, though public sector companies are performing and working. So there are different standards. The private sector usually looks at this subject differently. There is another thing which is cost. The corporate sector looks at the better contractor, the compliant contractor for quality, health, safety, and environment. But in public sector and the government organization, they look for the lowest price contractors. They don't have much requirement in compliance of HSE. So the large projects, they don't bother about complying with the HSE requirements or international standards. They look at the legislation, and if you know about the legislation, there is a problem that still the contractors are not covered by the legislation, and especially the construction is not till now is not being regulated. But time will come when things will change, and now Sindh law is there and Punjab law is there, so that will be implemented, but it will take few years for capacity building, for educating, for strengthening the organization, for implementation. So it will take time. Till that time, the government and public sector organizations are not willing to spend on that subject. But private sector and corporate sector, yes, they have commitments, and they have their objective that they have to complete the project within budget, within time frame, with high quality, with HSE following HSE standards, to earn better profits and maintain their reputation. So there are certain benefits of HSE management. Yes, we can count the benefits. There are many, but few of them are staff retention and new talent. If the contractor is complying with the requirement and they are taking care of their employees, they will be able to retain the employee, because on contractor side, the turnover of the employees is too much, because people very quickly change their jobs. They don't want to keep staying with one contractor. Whenever they get better salary or benefit, they move. So the staff retention and new talent hiring, new talent attracting new talent is the gain for the contractor. Definitely, if workers are safe, the job sites will be safe and the job will be safe. compliant culture will be achieved, because if we hire a better contractor which are vigilant, and they have their teams, they know the requirements, so the culture will be compliant culture, and they will be following the basic standards. If we are ISO certified, so there is a requirement for ISO certification. If there are certain corporate standards, they will be complying with the corporate standards. I worked in Saudi also, so every contractor was compliant to the Saudi Aramco standards. So Saudi Aramco has stringent standards which have been extracted from OSHA, American law. So those were actually were followed up, and everybody else would follow, because without following or without complying, the contract cannot be signed with the companies. Definitely, if we follow the good practices and good HSE management, so definitely the potential risk will be identified, and mitigation will be discussed to stay safe. So there is a procedure of cycle I will discuss later, but this is very important that good HSE management with the contractors will help capture the potential risks and mitigate them timely to be safe, to execute the project safely. And then eliminate the project disruptions. Definitely, if there are losses, the project will be delayed or there will be disruption. If there is an accident, definitely the site will be closed till the accident investigation is not carried out. If there is the property damage or loss, definitely.
Not moving, please.
Say again.
Did you change any slide? Because we are seeing only one slide.
Benefits of contractor HSE management.
जो पहली पे स्टक है ये.
Really?
जी जी.
मेरे पास तो मूव हो रही हैं. Now I have the contractor slide.
जी हमारे पास नहीं आ रही.
अच्छा, मैं एक मिनट फिर वापस जाके what's wrong? I don't know why it's happening. So
I think आवाज आ रही है.
देखें from current slide. अभी देखें कौन सी है.
सर HSE में अब चेंज हुई है.
अच्छा.
अब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर वाली आ रही है इस टाइम.
जी, benefits of contractor HSE man. I was talking on the subject, this subject. तो ठीक है, इसमें एक I was talking about the delays and disruption. So if there is no disruption, no delay, the project will be executed timely. Definitely there will be better productivity and competitiveness. If the contractor is performing well, the project will be completed timely, and if we are talking of any product or service, the company will be competitive to earn some profits also, and productivity will be maintained. So, and again, the reputation in the market is very important for the corporate sector. So that needs to be maintained. Okay, if we talk of the contractors, the definition of the contractor, no need to read the definition. Are you with me? Are you looking at the contractor slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can see there are many activities which are contracted, including security, janitorial services, driving, transport, hiring of vehicles, repair, maintenance, maybe shutdowns also, because in large industry the annual turnarounds are subcontracted. Then the catering services, the construction, seismic, drilling, and associate services. So there are many activities which are being contracted, and there is a lot of responsibility on companies' head to hire the best contractors, the best contractor in a minimum price. This is a challenge, that they have to get the contractor at less price, but the best contractor. So now it's a win-win, how the contractor comes and how the company gets the best contractor. So this is a typical exercise where you need to find the best contractor in minimum price. Okay. Why to hire contractors and suppliers? Yes, there is a competitive business world. We are on the daily basis. We look at the companies which are shrinking. So they don't want to invest much on hiring the employees. Rather, they want to hire the services from outside. And another point, that no company can become the jack of all trades and master of none. So now with the time some companies are becoming master of something, and they hire different services from outside market. The companies are cost conscious to earn better profits and lose less. So the commercial organization, definitely they don't want to hire more people. They want to be competitive. They want to be cost effective. So that's why they hire outside services and they outsource. So definitely managing large workforce is not economical. It happens in public sector organization and government organization, because the management of the government organization is politically biased. So the political people actually force the companies to hire more people. That's why they are overstaffed. But the private sector companies, they do not afford, they don't hire more people unless there is a stringent need. So they are very economical for hiring the workforce. Definitely, the hiring of a contractor is and supplier becomes economical, because in short-term projects we can hire expert services for some time. So instead of hiring a person for the whole year, if the job is for 2 to 3 months, the expert can be hired through a third party or a contractor. So and unique skill set made available on short notice. It's the same thing that we can get the best person or a skilled person for short time period without much liabilities on his insurance, his long-term benefits, legal bindings. So no liabilities on labor laws compliance required for the contractor or supplier person. And last but not the least, the risk is partially transferred. When we hire the contractor, definitely the employees of the contractor are exposed to the risk, not the company's employees are at risk. So that is partially transferred, but eventually the responsibility remains with the company. Okay, risk sharing or risk transfer. There is a definition that what does it mean? Usually, when we hire a contractor or a supplier or we outsource, we think that we have fully transferred the risk, but actually it's not the transfer of risk. Rather, we have little bit shared the risk, but eventually the responsibility rests with the company which has hired the contractor and supplier services, because they are accountable as per law. So it's always wise to mention.
स्लाइड मूव नहीं
Yes.
कर रही सर आपकी,
जी,
स्लाइड फिर मूव नहीं कर रही.
ये रिस्क शेयरिंग एंड रिस्क ट्रांसफर वाली स्लाइड है.
नहीं सर,
No,
कॉन्ट्रैक्टर
actually कॉन्ट्रैक्टर पे ही स्टक हुई हुई है आपकी पीपीटी.
आप देखें. What's wrong? ये मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रही कि वो क्या रहा है.
Yes, it's changed now.
अच्छा, अभी मुझे हर मर्तबा जाके करना होगा. अभी देखें.
Yeah, we can see the risk transfer and the risk sharing.
Okay, so risk sharing and risk transfer. So this is another concept that with hiring the services outsourcing, the risk is a little bit transferred, but it's not shifted fully, because eventually the company is responsible for insurance. Is another way to share the risk. So either insurance policy is taken by the company or the subcontracting or supplier is hired. So risk is little bit shared and a little bit transferred. Risk sharing is basically with a business partnership. The companies, when they do the partnership, they actually share the risks. So in corporate sector, usually the companies work in joint venture partnerships. So that's why the risk is a little bit shared. I have a video of risk. Let me see if it opens up. खुल रही है?
Not yet.
अभी नहीं खुला? ये नहीं खुली स्लाइड? There is a problem.
नहीं, वीडियो शेयर नहीं हुई.
नहीं खुली.
अच्छा, just a minute. अभी खुली है?
नहीं सर.
Sir, have you just shared the PPT or have you shared the screen with us?
PPT में there is a link which I am opening up. मुझे यहाँ पर कंप्यूटर में खुल रही है. I don't know why it's not.
You need to share the screen, the desktop screen. That's why we are just seeing the PPT only.
Happened. I've been doing it for quite some time. I don't know why it's happening so. I can one thing I can do. I can open from the source.
अच्छा सर, आप काइंडली अपनी जो शेयरिंग स्क्रीन है इसको कैंसिल करें और उसके
अच्छा.
बाद शेयर कर.
दोबारा शेयर करूँ?
बटन के साथ है ना क्रॉस बना होगा.
चल एक से ज़्यादा स्क्रीन्स खुली हुई हैं. That's why I think.
जी, जो सबसे फर्स्ट सबसे लेफ्ट साइड पे वो आएगा ना स्क्रीन शेयरिंग का ऑप्शन, उससे आपकी पूरी स्क्रीन हो जाएगी.
अभी मैं स्टॉप शेयरिंग करके दोबारा अपलोड करूँ इसको?
जी जी जी, आप स्टॉप शेयरिंग करें. उसके बाद आप दोबारा शेयरिंग के ऑप्शन पे जाएं.
जी.
और जो ओवरऑल स्क्रीन का जो आ रहा है ना जिस पे लिखा हुआ है स्क्रीन, फुल स्क्रीन, ये शेयर कर दें.
From current slide.
असल में सर आप प्रोग्राम शेयर कर रहे हैं. अगर आप स्क्रीन शेयर करें ना तो एवरीथिंग विल बी डिस्प्लेड ऑन द सेम स्क्रीन.
Program. फिर से मुझे बताएं क्या मुझसे गलती हुई है. मैं ओपन शेयर्स.
तो
नहीं,
जब आप
इसमें
स्क्रीन
आप
शेयर करेंगे आपके पास दो ऑप्शन आएंगे, विंडोज का और स्क्रीन या डेस्कटॉप का. तो आप स्क्रीन को शेयर करेंगे विंडोज के अगेंस्ट.
जी, अब आपकी स्क्रीन शेयर हो गई थी.
स्क्रीन.
जी, थोड़ी देर के लिए स्क्रीन आई थी आपकी.
जी बिल्कुल ठीक है. उसमें
जी, अब आप
खोल-
वीडियो प्ले करेंगे तो मे बी हमें वो विजिबल हो जाए.
अच्छा. अभी आपको स्क्रीन नजर आ गई?
बिल्कुल सही है. जी अब आ गई.
यस
अब
परफेक्ट.
आपकी वीडियो.
हेलो हेलो. जी हेलो. मैं जस्ट चेक करना चाह रहा था कि ट्रेनिंग
आवाज आ रही है?
की आवाज आ रही है. जी सुभानी साहब आवाज आ रही.
वीडियो बिना ऑडियो के है, राइट?
Okay, it was going irrelevant, so it has been reduced. Anyway, so we learned something that how to share, but definitely the company has the eventual responsibility. They cannot simply transfer the risks onto the contractors. The contractor will share the risk, but they have to be educated that what is the responsibility and how to mitigate the risks. I will tell you that how these risks are identified and mitigated. There are pros and cons. Definitely, the benefits and the outcome. The problem with the contractor is, if you read the last line, the contractor employees has some issues. For example, the maximum the turnover is large because they are less paid and they don't have any loyalty with the company. So that's the problem, that the contractors employees will be changing from time to time, so that becomes a issue for the company. Lack of responsibility, they don't want to take responsibility because eventually the responsibility rests with the company. So in big companies, the management of the company is always vigilant to monitor the contractors to ensure they are doing responsibly, and they are made accountable also, because if there is something wrong, definitely the company is accountable. So they will shift the accountability onto the contractors also. So this is the big challenge for the contracting, that we try to hire less price contractors, but eventually the price has to be paid to the company. A very bad example is that if we pay peanuts, we get monkeys. So I have seen in different companies that if they have selected a cheap contractor at lower price, definitely they will get the low quality and poor services, and eventually the company will suffer. So in the first place, the company has to think about hiring reasonable contractors, so that they are not under pressure. Another thing, if you have seen in your life, I have seen I have observed situation when we carried out a big exercise and we shortlisted the contractors, and finally we reached to a contract, and we hired the services of the contractor. But if the contractor fails to deliver the services, or not able to perform as per your expectations, you don't have any choice. You cannot go back to hire another contractor for the same services. Rather, it's only the contract terms which you can play around. So it's very important to sign a very good contract, so that the contractor cannot deceive you and fail to perform, and eventually you are in trouble, because you don't have time to go for whole exercise again and find the second contractor, because even the second price contractor, the time of mobilization and time of settlement will be quite a lot. So eventually the project will suffer. So the company has a lot of pressure to carry out the job with the same contractor, whether he's good or not. So it's the responsibility of the company to hire the best contractor, so that they are not facing any problem in the end. There is a global trend of outsourcing. There is a graph which will show that how many percent job is been allocated to contracts. So definitely there are a few things which need to be ensured, which is competence, because without competence you cannot get the best result. The skills of the workers, the education, the supervision level, because unless good supervision is maintained, the work progress will not be achieved. Rather, there is some rework in construction industry, or some other in oil industry also. If there is a lack of supervision, there will be rework, or there will be a repetition of work that will cost money, that will cost time. Maybe some damage of equipment due to lack of supervision. So there is a mix of many things which are happening, and which is definitely helps to keep on working safely and smoothly. The behaviors and culture also matters. In long-term projects and long-term relationships, the culture has to be ensured that people get behavioral trainings, and the culture is improved, so that the culture of the contractor is the culture of culture of the corporate becomes the culture of the contractor, so that the contractor is doing the same which the company wants. So they are not the employees of the company, but they are almost following the same practices and same culture which the company wants from them. And it's happening in Pakistan. I've seen in companies. I will tell you that how companies have progressed, and they have raised their contractors to a level where they're getting the best results. Some companies, when they come from outside the country, they cannot bring their contractors, so they have to rely upon local contractors. In other cases, there are some overseas contractors which come from the other countries. They are coming, so there is a difference of culture, there is a difference of standards, the legislation. So it has to be worked out during the contract and contract negotiations, that how they will carry out the job. So if you hire an unsafe contractor, it will end up into a disastrous situation for the company. There are certain requirements of community development, corporate social responsibilities, which are actually culture sensitive. So the company should be very vigilant, and they have to educate their contractor that how to carry out the job and how to take care of the communities. Capacity building is very important for the contractors, and it has been happening in my knowledge, at least for the last 30 years. 3 decades have been passed when the multinational companies in oil sector and another sector, they started coming in Pakistan, and they initiated the HSE culture, and they have actually contributed in the capacity building of the contractors, because they hired the contractor and they started hiring the contractor which were just new for those jobs, and they developed the contractors. Literally, I have seen people developing a small contractor in Occidental in late 80s, and now he's the largest contractor in Pakistan for pipeline laying. So this is the way the multinationals have contributed. The Texas, British Petroleum, there are many companies in oil sector as well as in other sectors. They have raised the contractors to a level. The tankers companies, the tank trucks are moving on the roads. There are big companies now. Initially, there used to be small trucks, but now there are fleets moving on the roads with some brand names, with standard built tankers and good drivers and trained drivers. So this is a capacity building which is happening by the companies, because companies have actually offloaded their responsibility onto the contractors, and they actually want the contractors to be at the same level, so that any accident that can impair their or impact their reputation should not happen. So that's why the capacity building is being done. So there are construction contractors, the maintenance or annual turnaround contractors. In early days, I don't think people were much aware of the shutdown jobs. Now Descon has a name, and other contractors are working not only in Pakistan, they are going to Middle East also. So they have trained teams, skilled teams, and they carry out the turnarounds, annual turnarounds very safely. Tank trucks, the car rentals, 4x4 car rentals, the drivers are being trained in the defensive driving training. In early days or in early times, there was no training arranged for the drivers, but now the defensive driving training is very popular in oil companies and different multinationals. So this is important, because the road accidents are yes, there is a high risk for the road accidents. So that's why the training and capacity building of those drivers and vehicles is done. Catering services also, IT service. So there are even the professional HSQ, HSE. In my early times when I joined the industry, the multinational would bring Gorasap. They would bring American or British safety manager in those days. But with the passage of time now, Pakistan has developed hundreds of QHSE professionals who are so Pakistan is self-sufficient in this field. We don't need any Gorasap to come and teach us. Rather, we are able to deliver in the Middle East. I have delivered in Middle East, and I can proudly say that I replaced an American manager on the project, on the Aramco project, and I successfully delivered with my knowledge and alhamdulillah, my passion. So there are good practices which are coming with the multinationals, which are not a legal requirement, which are not local indigenous requirement, but those are coming with the multinationals. So multinational companies in Pakistan, they have helped local industry and local contractors to build their capacity. And it's ongoing. It's not stopped. It is ongoing. If you look at the outsourcing statistics, there could be. I will quote an example that almost 80 to 90% of the workforce in advanced companies and in oil companies. I can say in Aramco, I think 85% of the jobs are outsourced to the contractors and suppliers. I remember I used to attend the contractors management meetings when I used to work for the oil company. So I think in E&I there were 80% contractors working for the company, only 20% employees, if I'm not wrong. Anyway, so this is the number, and thousands of employees are working as freelance. So freelance working means they are not employed, but their services are offered. I'm also freelance now. I was working for oil companies, but now I'm freelance. So my services are available. So I'm also other companies can outsource the services and they can hire my services as well. So this is a good example that people are now available freelance, and they can provide their the professional support for short-term basis to the companies. So companies, instead of hiring a resource for long-term, they can assign a short-term. They can give a short-term assignment to freelance people and get the best results. So these statistics show that a lot of companies are moving towards outsourcing, and this is a common trend. And with the passage of time, things will move further, and companies will further shrink because they are with the COVID-19. Some of the companies have opted to work from home. So they have left their offices, and they are not willing to even maintain their offices. So they will mostly work from home, and only few people will sit in the corporate office to just meet for strategic decisions. Otherwise, most of the people will be working from home. So this is new trend. These are also statistics that what happens if the contractor is not safe. So there could be many injuries, there could be time losses, the financial impacts. These are statistics from UK. Why? Because we don't have the statistics in Pakistan. Because the law is not stringent, we are still in a position where there is no comprehensive and consolidated law in place in Pakistan. So the initiative of Sindh and Punjab has been taken, but still we need a consolidated legislation for the whole country, where all the companies, where all companies can be governed, and this kind of data and statistics can be collected. Unfortunately, there is no data, and there is no source of data collection available, because either people don't report, or if they report, they report in silos. The data is not compiled at one place. So there is a need of developing a center of excellence, which we, on the platform of ASSP, we initiated that it can be developed at Pakistan Engineering Council. But every organization, they have their own priorities. So we are following up with the Pakistan Engineering Council, but still the Center of Excellence idea is not conceived. It's only on papers only. But this is the solution. Unless there is a Center of Excellence, and unless there is a centralized office or a think tank, things will not move. Things cannot move in isolation. Again, the British statistics, where they have collected the data, they have the right data. The US has the right data. The advanced world can show their statistics, because everything is transparent and being documented. But unfortunately, in Pakistan, no data. Even the Rescue 1122 data is collected from the injuries only. When people come to the hospitals, injured people come to the hospital, or they are rescued and they are collected from the accident places, that data actually is the data for Rescue 1122. Otherwise, government or the labor department or other relevant department, they don't have data or statistics where the government can see what's going on and trend. They can make some decision on the trend analysis. So in the advanced world, there is a trend analysis, and they look back and see that what happened in past few months. So they correct and make some changes in legislation or whatever. But it will take time for Pakistan to improve. But there is a way. We as professionals, we are trying to impart our role, and we see that with passage of time, something will definitely come. So the benefit of management, definitely it starts from the commitment from the top management. I don't know how many participants are from the top management in the presentation. Usually these kind of presentations are addressed to the top management of the companies. So if there is no senior person sitting or attending the session, at least the recorded session can be shared with the management of the company, so that they understand that what's their role, responsibilities, because eventually the benefit of Contractor HSE management rests with the company. They will avoid losses, they will make more profits, and they will enjoy good reputation, company reputation. So this subject is addressed to basically to the top management, not only HSE people. Okay, so definitely with the commitment of the top management, HSE will improve, and definitely it will be good for the workers, and for the they will enjoy a better place. I remember I was in Skardu when the Satpara Dam was under construction. I was sent from Descon to stay there for some time. So because that was the first project in Skardu. So what was happening that when the workers were given the PPs, hard hat and this coverall and shoes, so they would wear this coverall, shoes, and the helmet, and they would go all around the markets, and they will enjoy. They were feeling proud that they are working on a dam project. So that also gives a feeling that yes, this is something different. So a feeling of a worker that he is working at a job site which is good for him and a safer job site is a good feeling. So and it works. Eventually, it pays to the organization that workers are happy. Recently, I have visited a place. It was a polyester plant, a big polyester plant in Faisalabad, definitely contributing in the economy of the country. And average employee was 25-year plus senior. I mean, they were working from the day one, or maybe when they joined the company, they are not willing to leave the company. So that kind of atmosphere, people should enjoy, that when they come to the company, they don't leave. So that kind of atmosphere should be given to the company. Compliance of regulations and ISO standards. If you have the ISO standards, yes, there's a compliance requirement. But if you are looking at these simply the regulations, it doesn't ask much. So some places there is a donor standard. If this is Asian Development Project, if this is World Bank project, their expectation, their standards are set, and they have to the people should comply with those standards to be met. There is another thing which is joint risk assessment. I will talk later when we talk of cycle, how it works. So joint risk assessment is carried out. That is very important for the project safe execution. Okay, so proactive culture needs to be developed. It's always we talk of proactive culture instead of reactive culture. But you know, most of the companies are reactive. Maybe reactive to the not reactive to the regulations, reactive to the company corporate standards. So it's human psyche that people are reactive to those. So definitely we end up into good reputation or great reputation of the company in the industry if we carry out the job following the standards. Employer responsibility is definitely employer has to be taking care of their worker. Is their legal, moral, and ethical responsibility. If legislation is not stringent, but still their moral and ethical responsibility rests with them, and they have to take care of their employees. The people should work on the site safely, and definitely if the job site is safe the credit goes to the management of the company that they have maintained good standards and the people are and people working on the project are safe. Definitely the people working around the communities should not also be affected because job is safe, but the communities are being affected. It's not acceptable in the modern world. In recent world, the social responsibilities are becoming more important. So the environmental studies and environmental compliance covers the public and community as well. They should be feeling happy that the project is not affecting their privacy, and it will benefit their. It will give economic benefit to them as well. Okay. Contractor's responsibility. Definitely, the contractor has a responsibility to play without taking responsibility. They cannot deliver the goods. They cannot deliver the project timely within budget, following the practices. They have to be transparent. They should not be hiding the incidents. Many contractors, they try to hide the incident to maintain the statistics good. Or to avoid the problem, but eventually it is not good. So in the first place, they have to be told that they have to be transparent in because if they communicate, there will be a solution, and definitely the both will benefit. But if there is a lack of transparency, lack of communication, something will go wrong, and nobody will be able to take the load when it comes to a serious situation. So definitely, it's the responsibility, not only the company employer responsibility, but the contractor responsibility also, and which is written down in the contract and which is communicated from time to time, and in monitoring and during meetings, everything is discussed, and the contractor has to answer that why is not able to comply. So this is the way the contractor has to work. There are common objectives and KPIs. Key performance indicators are set initially at the start of the project, and both these are the common objectives for the contractor as well as the company. Company will definitely earn more profits, but the contractor will also get benefit if completes the project timely. And there are penalties also if the contractor fails to deliver the project timely. Definitely they have to face some penalties and fines and reduction in their profits. So that's why they have to be vigilant. Look at the cycle of contractor management. It starts with the pre-qualification and hiring of the contractor. So this is the most important part where the companies should spend more time. They have to have stringent pre-qualification documentation. They have to look at the previous record of the contractors. They have to be looking at the capacity of the contractor, previous record of the contractor, so that when they hire, it's not the hiring on the lowest price basis. Rather, it's a win-win that they are quoting the less price, but they are offering good services and quality services. So companies who spend more time in pre-qualification and hiring process, they actually benefit. And the signing of the contract terms should carry everything in written form, and it has to be signed. I have seen in my life that the contractor company signed. I was working for a client company, and the contractor company signed a contract. But they when they came to the job site for delivering, they were not having that equipment which they quoted in the contract terms, and they did not provide services or people which were quoted in the contract terms. So those terms were referred, and they had to comply with those requirements because that contract was signed by their chief executive. When they signed the contract, they were bound to deliver that project, deliver that quality services, and they were bound to bring that equipment with them. So that there was a delay caused due to this conversation and arguments and bringing the equipment, but though that time loss was acceptable. But later on, if there would be some accident or there will be some loss, bigger loss, that would cost more. So I have practiced that the contract terms, if they are written efficiently, smart contracts are made, the requirements have been embedded into the contracts, signed and accepted, those will help and they will be referred if there is some deviation from the contract. And then second step is the joint risk assessment. This is very important, and I have experienced in my life that if the contractor, when they sign the contractor, they are called and they sit with the owner company or the client company, and a joint risk assessment is carried out physically. The management, both the management sit together, they carry out the risk assessment, or if they have carried out already, they discuss that this is the risk assessment carried out for this project. If it is a repetition project or things are repeating, still they sit together, they agree, and they carry out the risk assessment. Okay, yes, we have taken these risks and we know how these will be mitigated. And again, this is also signed, the risk assessment also signed by both the management, so that it is also owned and it is also referred if there is some deviation from the agreed terms. So it is also. Third thing which is very important is HSE audit on the mobilization. When the contractor comes at the workplace for the first time, he has to be given orientation of the project, that how we want to carry out the project, how it will be done. So that orientation plus audit, HSE audit at the time of mobilization. So these are the filters and these are the controls in place for with the company, that how to ensure that the contractor understands the requirement, they know the risks associated, they know the risk mitigations. The audit verifies that whatever they have provided is good enough. They have the system, they have the competence, they have the equipment in place, so everything will definitely contribute for the safe execution of the project. If these things are not in place, the project will end up into a bad situation for the company. So these are very important. And then continuous monitoring through HSE, through quality, through management site visits. So the monitoring and what monitoring tells you, that every weekly meeting or every monthly meeting or daily meeting, these monitoring points or observations are put into place and showed to the management that these are the points which are captured yesterday or day before. So these are actually taken into consideration, and that the contractor is bound to comply with the requirements and improve. So this monitoring is very important to catch the things timely before it's too late. Then when the job completes, there is post-job evaluation also, that the contractor's evaluation is done, that how the contractor has carried out the job, if the job was completed safely, timely, within budget, and there is no problem. Yes, the contractor is now eligible for a reward. The reward could be in form of tab, it could be in form of a certificate, it could be a joint gathering, dinner party, it could be a reward in terms of monetary terms. I have worked with a company who offer 1% of the contract value to be given to the contractor if they execute the job or complete the job safely. No LTI means they are eligible for 1% of the total contract value, which becomes a reasonable amount of money. And when it is distributed to the contractor workers, they are very happy. And for the next project, they work very hard to keep safe and to earn the same money. So that works. So this is the way this cycle completes. So the pre-qualification, definitely it will talk about the previous records, the logs, the accident statistics. So they have to tell in pre-qualification that how they are working, what's their standard, and if they are able to deliver to the company or not. So this is at the tendering stage, when things are not materialized. So there are many things. In some companies, there are third-party verification also carried out, not in Pakistan, but in advanced world. The third-party verifies that in drilling, there is a requirement for drilling rigs that a third-party comes and they verify that the drilling rig is, the integrity of the drilling rig is verified. Maybe other industry also, so but not very frequently done. So the pre-qualification really helps. Then the pre-job risk assessment is carried out, so definitely it helps to identify risks, to capture risks, and find the ways that these risks can be mitigated economically. not always money is spent. You know, the risk mitigation is there are engineering controls, there are administrative controls, there are PPs. So not always engineering controls are required. Sometimes it's administrative control that helps with the existing manpower, with the existing people, or with the procedural requirements, making the procedure, so that can be done. So it is good that risk assessment is carried out and agreed, and people comply with the requirements, and job is safe. Okay. Subcontractor. This is very important subject. We talk of contractor, but we fail to see the requirements for the subcontractors. In real terms, the subcontractor is more important to take care, because what will happen that the company will take contract from the contractor will take a contract from one company and then sublet the job to another contractor. So it's very important that it has to be part of the contractor that any subcontracted job has to comply with the same requirements, the competence, the equipment quality, the delivery, or whatever. So the subcontractor, maybe he is not able to deliver timely, so that's why the contractor is asking for subcontracted services, but he cannot compromise on the QHSE requirements. So subcontractors also responsible, and the company is eventually responsible. So company will only allow the subcontractors unless they are sure or they know what's happening. Orientation of the project, then job orientation. When they mobilize on the job site, every employee of the contractor and subcontractor, they go through a detailed orientation and short training, so they know what's going on the job, what are the hazards on the job, what are do's and don'ts. So okay, then the use of PPEs, definitely the fall protection. There are many things which are happening. So if there is a construction project, the fall protection is very important. The excavation is very important. So there are many trainings which can be offered. If there is a big fleet, the defensive driving training is important, and refreshers are important. So not only the trainings, but refresher trainings also. If there is an accident, the refresher training is offered to the employees, so that they understand why this accident happened, and how can this be minimized or avoided in future. Then definitely job monitoring. You can carry out the inspections, the audits can be carried out, the ISO certification audits, or third-party audit, or client audit. So these audits actually help identify the gaps and improve. So job monitoring and then reporting and then correcting is definitely important. So another thing is HSE observations program. So if there is a HSE observation program, it also helps to capture the requirements, and it helps correct or improve, and accidents can be avoided. The near misses tell us stories what can happen in the next phase. So the observation program is important, and on every job site. If the companies are or practicing, it is good. If not practicing, they have to take it seriously. It really helps. I have seen in my life, in my career, that observation program really helps capture, identify points which otherwise not able to. We are not able to capture, because HSE people, there are few. So unless the employees are engaged and involved, it doesn't work. So the contractors HSE reports definitely show the statistics, how they are working, how they are performing. Incidents, accidents, investigations, corrections. So these are all happening when there is a job. There are incidents, there are failures, there are happenings which needs to be investigated. And okay. Common HSE challenges. Now we are almost summarizing what we have discussed. That common HSE challenges for the contractors and suppliers, that they have to have capacity to handle the task. They have to ensure the competence level, the job loyalty, not more, but at least they should not leave the job in the project cycle, because eventually it impacts the project. They should take the responsibility, and they are accountable also. So it goes with the job the contract terms and what they are getting end of the month. The supervision has to be ensured that the supervisor should be not only competent, but they have to be vigilant to look at the workers, because workers sometimes they do very foolish things. They make deliberate mistakes, and sometimes if they are not happy, they will do something wrong. And I've seen on projects, in construction projects especially, that the employees, when they are frustrated, they will end up into an accident, or they will damage something to show their anger. The contractors are usually playing with a low price, so if they quote low price, they cannot later on say that we have quoted low price, we cannot spend more on this job. So because they have quoted low price, so and it's the requirement of the company that they should know that if some company is quoting very low price, they will not be able to deliver, instead of enjoying at that time and facing in the later stage. So risk taking and risk responsibility to mitigate risk, yes, it is also important. If there is no procedure to check the deviations or infractions of the contract terms, nothing can be done. So if there is a procedure, if there is written that if you deviate from the contractor terms, you will be accountable, you have to pay the price. Subcontracting terms should be well written, that if they subcontract, they have to comply with the same requirements on the project. Perception of risk could be different for contractor and then subcontractor, because things may dilute. So the subcontractor should also understand the risk, how much is the risk. If the turnover is more, motivation will be less. So more turnover means new people are coming, they are not motivated to work, they are just time passing. So and if there is a lack of communication, the company is not able to communicate to the contractor, and contractor is not able to the subcontractor, definitely there are chance of failure and some accident. Very, very important for the projects. Usually on projects or with a contractor, there is a rush. People are pushed to carry out the job. They are rushing. There is a fatigue factor. There is a complacency, because the people are working again and again the same job for prolonged periods. For fatigue, there is also a factor that on contractor's job, if there is somebody who is sick on leaving, there is no extra person to relieve him. What will happen? The existing employees will be overloaded, because they have to work. Maybe they have to work day and night, overtimes. So there is a fatigue factor, and if there is a fatigue factor, there is the chance or likelihood of an accident. So this happens on construction site, on job sites, where the contractors are pushed to complete the job, because they have the fear that they will lose their job. So they have to work day and night, and they have to perform. So with that complacency, there are likelihood that maybe they will damage something, or there will be an incident where there will be some injury or loss. Post-work evaluation is important. If there is a post-work evaluation system in place, mechanism in place, the contractor will be knowing that if he has performed well or not, and his hiring for the next project or next term will be on the basis of his previous performance. If he has performed well, his services will be hired again and again, and he will become a kind of permanent contractor for long term for the company. But if there is no post work evaluation, how come the company knows or the contractor knows that? Okay, so these are certain challenges for the companies, and definitely there is a way to overcome these challenges. So the first thing is point is partnering, no blame game. When we sign a contract or with a supplier or a contractor, they become partners, because they have to share the fortune, they have to share the goods and bads. So there should be no blame game. The company should not blame the contractor, and the contractor should not blame the company just to share the responsibility. Rather, they have to partner and then own the things. So common KPIs, I already said that the objective and KPIs should be common, and all the stakeholders should respect those KPIs to achieve. Timeline should be realistic. If you have put the timeline which is not realistic, you cannot achieve the goals. Working day and night might not bring safe work, rather it will create unsafe environment, and maybe that ends up into some bad situation. Risk management, we have carried out the risk assessment. So if you manage the risk, the job can be carried out safely. Communication has a role to play. Transparency, the communication and transparency is important to very confidently and with the trust. Because if there is a trust and confidence into each other, the things will be transparent and communication will be frequent. If there is a barrier like bossing attitude and master-slave attitude or master-slave relationship, then definitely there will be a gap and the communication will not be effective, and there will be no trust and confidence. Rather, people will be working in silos and in a shell. So that will not help the project execution. Monitoring is a continuous process. Incentives and discipline. Incentive means if the contractor is working good and they have achieved good man hours, and without any accident, they have to be rewarded. Maybe in terms of some team working workshop or dinner party or outing or certificate or monetary terms, whatever. But on the other side, there should be a discipline mechanism also, that the contractor has to be fined, or some penalty should be imposed, and they have to pay some price for not complying with the requirements. So there should be a disciplinary procedure also in place and has to be part of the contract. And in the end of the project, they have to celebrate the success and accept the failures, whatever who is responsible for that failure. The partner should accept that, okay, it happened. So and provide support to each other for maintaining long-term relationships. Because if the contractor is good, the company would like to continue with them, and if the company is good, the contractor will love to work with them. So it's a win-win, and it becomes, and I have seen in all companies that the contractors are enjoying very good relationship with the companies, and companies are very happy, and they talk like friends and like partners. So this is very good relationship that actually helps both companies. Okay. Summary, the last slide, that outsourcing has become the market trend because it saves costs. The freelance workers are available. Their services can be hired for short-term expert resource available, because if they hire expert resources, they will be very expensive. So through contractors, these services, or through short-term contracts, these services can be made available. Risk is transferred to some extent. Liabilities become less. There are challenges, but there are some companies which make smart contracts, and the contract writing is very made very effective, so that any violation to the contractor can be picked up, and the contractor has to pay some price for that. So it's the time has to be spent on contractor writing, and the companies have to respect that. Capacity building rests with the company, that if the contractor has some shortcomings, the company should support the company to build their capacity. Eventually, what will happen in the end, or end of the day, the company will benefit. So monitoring and post-evaluation is also a subject which is important. So with that, I believe I have tried to cover the whole subject, and this was not rocket science. This was all simple terms and simple things, but my personal experience was part of this, because I have practiced all these items, and I have seen the practical situations where these tips were working, and they were actually bringing productivity, bringing more profits to the company, and completion of the project safely. So I believe I have covered the subject, and floor is open for the question. If there is any question or any comment, you are welcome.
Excellent, mashallah. Excellent presentation, and your presentation is, as usual, very good. So let's go for the question and answer session. If anybody has any questions, please raise your hand so we can ask one by one. जी सर, अपना नाम भी बताइए और अपना कंपनी का भी बताएं।
My name is Noman Shah. Basically, I am a retired person from Pakistan Refinery. I was working as a general manager over there. So my question is about the establishment of key performance indicators for the contractors. You know, all you have said is all right, but what are those important KPIs which needs to be established for the contractors? Few of them. Can we name few of them?
Sir, I think I have covered them, starting with the budget, the timeline, the quality, HSE, and then further in HSE we can set the statistics like no injury, no LTI, minimum impact on environment. We can define how much spill we can accept. We can so this way we can agree on certain terms, and those are the KPIs. I think very
No,
basic.
That's all right. But it is in terms of, these are the qualitatives. Can we convert it into quantitative, KPIs?
I'm not able to answer very quickly, but definitely there'll be some we can relate to some numbering, and like in risk matrix we have numbering on the consequence and probability side. So definitely we can make in terms. For example, in LTI we can say that LTI rate should be this much. So that is actually quantitative term. The quality incidents, maybe we can rate some give some rating to them. So this way I think we can agree upon budget deviation. For example, we can set a plus minus that this 1% or 2% can be a deviation, not more than that. Timeline also, we can put some timeline that okay, 2% or 5% deviation is acceptable, not more than that. So maybe this could be your answer, the answer of your question.
Do you think that this time management and in terms of project and all this is related with HSE?
Not HSE, but when the project is planned, it's integrated effort. It's not only HSE, it's the project team, it's the financial team. Everybody sits together, and they collectively there is a collective wisdom that is playing in the planning phase. So HSE is only one part. We are talking of HSE management only, but definitely it helps to carry out the job safely and achieve the objectives of timely completion and within budget. Because if there is an accident, it's not only HSE, it will impact the whole project, or whole company will be impacted, because the job will be maybe on hold for some time. Maybe there is some serious damage to something in property damage or some equipment damage that needs to be imported from outside. It has happened in industry when the major equipment damaged because of some foolish mistake of somebody. So it's not only HSE incident, it becomes a liability on the company's head, because the company is suffering eventually.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to ask any question, please.
Can I have one more question?
Yes.
Ji.
Yeah. Number two thing, which is very becoming very important nowadays, that is process safety. So how we integrate process safety into the construction phase of the process?
Sir, if we talk of process safety, it's looking at the bigger picture. I mean, we are looking at the overall situation, because in safety, in early days, you used to talk of single person injury, finger injury, or some person individual. But when we look at the overall picture, we talk of the whole project, or the whole situation. So that becomes the process safety. It's not only that a chemical plant is under process safety management. It works everywhere.
No, that I'm not saying. I'm just asking. I'm talking about any project. It's not about the refining project. Any project. Can have we started to integrate the process safety aspects into the project? That was the question.
Not really, because it all depends on appetite of the organizations. Till yet, only the chemical industry and the oil industry in chemical plant or petrochemicals or refineries, they are working on process safety. But till now, it's not it has not become a culture in other industry.
Okay,
Though
thank you.
it is applicable equal.
Okay, so anyone else has any question, please, so we can close the session. So I think there is no question. So, Naeem sir, once again,
Hello.
Zain, you want?
Ji, bole.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes.
So, thank you, Naeem Saab. It was very insightful. We get to know, from your experience, many things we came across, with your experience. And I'm also thankful to Tahir for organizing this event. And, this would be a great opportunity for industry professionals to learn from your experience of seasoned professionals. So highly appreciated, and we have noted many of your suggestions and how to integrate risk into the overall Contractor HSE management. So thank you so much for your time.
You did not introduce yourself. I can read your name, but not the company.
Okay. My name is Zain Basalarakia. I'm Senior Engineer HSE from Pakistan Petroleum Limited.
Okay, PBL, right.
Yes. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Zain, and be in touch. And inshallah, we will have some more sessions in future. So, Naeem Saab, really, it was very good session as usual. So, thank you so much, and inshallah, we will have your more sessions in future.
Inshallah.
So, till that time, okay, Allah Hafiz, and all the participants.
Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.